2025 is almost over, and I like to take a little bit of time to look back over the last 12 months and take a look at the plugins, services, tools, and things like that I've tested, explored, adopted, or just kind of found interesting and have a chat about them, basically. So that's exactly what we're going to do in this video. I'm going to go over a range of different things that I found super interesting over the last year. But as always, I would love to know what you think is super interesting. What tools, services, anything at all to do with WordPress and web design that you found interesting over the last 12 months. Let me know down below so I can check them out and take a look at what you're excited about. So first on my list was a website I came across a couple of months ago that I thought had a really simple but very, very useful feature. And that is you tell it what functionality you're looking for and it will then suggest WordPress plugins that have that functionality built in. I'm sure we've all been in the same position where you know you want to do something and you know what you want to do, but you don't know if there's a plugin or tool out there that does it, or it's something you have to build yourself. Well, this is where plugins, which sadly is closing down, came in super handy. You basically describe the functionality you're looking for. For example, a plugin for an online bakery that calculates delivery fees. It will then go through, search for plugins that have that functionality built in, and then give you information about them. You can open them up in the WordPress playground. You can jump to the plugin page. You can see how recently it was updated, how many installations, the feedback and ratings and so on. For me, really, really useful little tool. And I don't really know why they're shutting it down, but it's disappointing that they are, because I think this is a very, very useful tool. So maybe this is something, if you are interested in this, you can talk to the developers behind it and see if they're interested in passing it over to someone else to maintain this, because I think there's a lot of value in what plugins brings to the table. With so many WordPress plugins out there, this does make our lives a lot easier. Check it out, link in the description down below. Let me know if you've used this and if you're as disappointed as I am that this is going to be going away soon. Next up is an AI tool, and AI is going to feature throughout this, but not necessarily in the way that you may think. MagicPath was a tool that I came across probably about 6 months ago. And what this is it's basically there to help you prototype designs and ideas that you could then go and build if you wanted to. But the thing that I liked about this was, well, there's a couple of things, to be honest. One, the results were actually very good in relation to some of the other AI tools out there that come back with your very generic, same color schemes, same kind of structure and layout. This was a little bit more interesting and useful, especially when you wanted to create things like dashboards or user interfaces that you wanted not just to be a website, you wanted them to be functional. For example, I've got this project flow, which is a project management kind of tool that I was messing around with just as an idea to test this out. I'm using the free account, which you can absolutely do yourself. Again, links in the description down below. I've got a video on this, and everything I've got videos on, I will also link in the details down below, so you can check out my videos on them if you want to. But I thought this was really useful, not like I say, just for the fact that it actually comes back with decent results, but the fact that you can actually then edit it directly inside the actual builder itself. For example, if you come over and you click on any items inside you can prompt the AI to do different things. You can edit this. So you can see we can jump into the edit mode and we can select the various different things. It's using standardized kind of layouts, so divs and flexbox and so on. And as you can see, it gives us a ton of control on the right-hand side to deal with the flex. We can control how we want this to look, the direction it's going in, we can adjust the position. So all the normal things you used to see in with Flex, all these options are here. You can edit this with AI if you want to, or you can actually get your hands dirty and you can customize the way this all looks and functions. You can jump in and take a look at the code if you want to. You do have to have a pro plan to get access to the code. But again, if this is something that saves you time, it may be worthwhile to you. If you just want to kind of brain dump and get ideas and suggestions, color schemes, layouts, functionality, and so on, then the free account is pretty useful. And that's, like I say, that's all I'm using here. You can also easily create different versions and revisions, and you can jump back to them at any point. You can preview this inside a browser so you can interact with the various different elements. For example, if we click on the preview, that'll open this up, and as you can see, we can interact with the various different parts of this. Now, obviously, it depends upon how much time and effort you put into kind of fleshing out the various different functions, but the fact that it is kind of interactive and you can create the multiple different parts of it, I think it's a really useful tool if you just want to use this to get an idea, or if you're not that great at design, but you know you can build the functionality, this could be a good visual aid to get you up and running with the UI and UX. But check it out. Like I say, I found it really interesting and just a kind of cool tool that I could see would be useful, whereas maybe some of the other AI tools that are out there, especially design tools, can be too generic and a little bit more boring and so on. But again, if you tried it, let me know down below. Now, sticking with AI, NanoBanana, when that came out several months ago, I covered that in its own video, again, linked down below. And I was incredibly surprised at the attention to detail and how you could use this to take images or a single image, get it to basically recompose it, if you want to do composite images and so on, things that you use Photoshop for. It was very, very good at doing that and retaining high quality end results, not your typical 17 fingers on one foot, 3 eyes. You get the idea where you had the sort of weird kind of strange results. I found it gives really, really solid results. Sadly, since then, they have sort of pushed most of this over to a paid plan. So while my original video was showing you this and everything I did was completely free, that has changed. But again, if you have a need for creating images, compositing images and so on, maybe taking images that have been supplied by a client and you want to repurpose those in different ways, then maybe NanoBanana is a good option. However, ChatGPT has rolled out 1.5 of their image creation, and the results are kind of, one is better in certain areas than others, but if you've already got a ChatGPT account, you may want to check that out, and obviously Sora, which is still ChatGPT using OpenAI and so on. But NanoBanana was really interesting when I took a look at that earlier this year. And like I say, some of the results I got in that initial video, especially with the car being replaced on the beach with the sort of lifeguards and that around it, that was an incredibly good end result with a really simple prompt. So if you haven't used NanoBanana, well, I would recommend trying it out, even if you just try the free version of this while you kind of have a couple of credits there to test it out. But again, let me have your thoughts down below. Have you tried NanoBanana? Do you use any other AI tool for working with images, composites, created assets, and so on? Let me know what you're using down below and what you think is the best in your experience. I'd love to know. Now, one of the key things that I like to do on this channel is look for ways in which if you have low budget or no budget, you can still get great results. Even if it's for working with potential clients, cost becomes a really important factor. So this is where I've taken a look at tools like Web Studio. We've taken a look at Simply Static, which allows you to create a static version of WordPress websites, and then taken a look at how we can host those on free platforms like Cloudflare. This is something that was a real eye-opener to me over the last couple of months, where I've delved into this a little deeper, taking a look at how we can connect up things like Simply Static to GitHub so we can have version control. We can then push those over into Cloudflare for zero cost. We do sacrifice some features like forms and so on. We do have to embed those using third-party tools, or if you have something like Simply Static Pro or Premium, you can integrate that with some of the WordPress sort of form plugins. So there are workarounds for doing this. But if you're creating brochure sites, portfolio sites, and so on for potential clients for yourself, and these things are not so important, even just like landing pages, for example, for a simple product where you may not want to have a sign-up form, you're going to send them over to something like Lemon Squeezy or something like that to actually make the purchase, then these kind of tools are really, really useful. I've got a couple of my sites using exactly the same technique that I covered in my video, which again, like I say, I'll link down below. There's a couple of videos on this, one with Web Studio, one with Simply Static, and so on. Check them out if you haven't already. But it's a really good way of being able to build your websites in either a visual environment like Web Studio or in WordPress on a local development environment using sort of local or using WordPress Studio, so you can build the sites there and then you can connect those up to GitHub and upload and do all those kinds of good things. There's a lot of different ways in which you can use this. So if budget is an issue, or you simply don't want to have to deal with the hassle of WordPress updates on a site that really doesn't get updated very often, the techniques I covered in those videos may be perfect for you or for paying clients. Just means that your maintenance drops to basically zero, and your cost can also drop to zero as well. So check those videos out if you haven't, but I will be exploring those options in more detail in 2026. I may even create a mini course on using Simply Static to be able to take your WordPress websites. We'll look at a development environment, how we can push those up, how we can use GitHub, Bunny CDN, Cloudflare, and so on, how we can version control, and how we can host these for low cost or no cost. If this is something you're interested in, let me know down below because I would love to know. Now, speaking of free things where I love to get your interaction, if you haven't already taken a look, check out the WP Tuts community, link down below. This is a fantastic place with over 1,000 users already enrolled in this. Totally free if you want to jump on board, get involved. You can access my free courses on there. You can get involved with the conversation. But if you do join up, please do bear in mind, this isn't a place for lurkers. This is a place for people to get involved, interact, and become part of the conversation. If all you're interested in is lurking, this probably isn't the platform for you. Maybe stick to the Facebook group where you can still find a lot of information. Check it out, wptutscommunity.com, link down below. I'd love to see you there. Now, speaking of Cloudflare, this is a platform that, while I've dabbled with it, I haven't really gone too deep into it. But this year, I've started taking a look at various different options, more so for handling my domains, but also for handling websites that we don't necessarily want to pay for hosting, simple landing sites like I've already said. If you'd like me to cover more about Cloudflare in more detail, let me know down below, because I want to delve into this in more detail for myself. I'm still learning. One of the things that I will say about me and this channel and everything else, I don't claim to be an expert in everything. I don't claim to be an expert in anything, to be honest, but I enjoy learning. Getting to grips with things, finding ways in which we can combine various different tools and services and options, and then showing you how you could do the same thing and helping you overcome those learning hurdles that I had by showing you how to get around those so you don't stumble and get stuck on them. So if Cloudflare is one of those platforms that you have those stumbling blocks or you just want to know more about it, let me know down below. And the same thing goes for any of the tools that I'm talking about in this kind of 2025 roundup. If you want more coverage on these kinds of tools, let me know in the comments section below. Another thing I did this year was move 90% of my hosting over to xCloud, where I now run that myself. Now, if you don't know what xCloud is basically an interface between you and your cloud provider. So things like Vultr, DigitalOcean, those kinds of platforms. This is a nice visual way of being able to interact with it, but it goes way beyond just that. There are various different ways in which you can set servers up inside here. So you can use Nginx, you can Lightspeed, you can also set things up using Docker. The cool thing about the way that xCloud is set up is that we can have one-click applications that we can easily install. And these are things that if you run a web design company, either you do it for yourself, just running your own websites, or you actually sell services. There are a lot of really useful options here. For example, if you want to handle automation and you'd like to have a centralized place to install N8N for zero cost for installing N8N, obviously you have to pay for your server usage. That's part of the course. This allows you to do it in one simple click. It's very easy. I've created a video on how to do just that. If you want to have analytics on here, you can use Umami. You can install your own applications on here if you want to. There's an AI builder you can test out. I haven't tried it myself, but it's something I will take a look at in 2026. Lots of great options, and the interface itself is really nice. There's constant updates being brought out, new features, additions. xCloud was one of those things that I bought into the lifetime deal probably 18 months ago when they first released this. Held it sort of on the back burner, tested it out with a sort of free Vultr account for 6 months to kind of let it mature a little bit. Once it did, I moved some of my own sites over. This are my lower traffic sites, so it didn't matter if anything went wrong. And now I've pretty much moved all of my main sites over there. So things like LearnBricks Builder, the community, all those kinds of things are running via xCloud. This is one of those platforms that I've been really happy to see it grow and develop over the last 12 months. And like I say, I've put a lot of my sites onto their service using Vultr. And I want to test out some of the other platforms like Hetzner and things like that. So I will be delving more into xCloud. Again, if you want me to cover any of the things that xCloud offers, let me know down below and I will take a look at doing that. This is something that I'm in and out of pretty much every single day, tweaking things, running backups, doing all those kinds of cool things, running sites on and so on. But xCloud has been a really good investment for me over the last year or so. And I'm excited to see where this grows in the next 12, 24 months. Now, Relume is another tool that I've been digging into more so over the last 12 months or so. And I found this very, very useful, not only for just ideation, but also to kind of just put things together quickly and easily. And if I need or want to tweak them, I can move them over into something like Figma. Or because a lot of the design aesthetics and the sort of layouts are very similar to Brixie's, I can easily take Brixie's wireframes and build things out based upon the design ideas that I put together inside Relume. And Relume is another one of those platforms that over the last last sort of 12 months is really started to put more design orientated features in there. It started off just basically being like a sitemap and wireframes, and that was basically it. Then they brought the sort of design system on board, so you can easily then apply different color schemes and so on. And now they've also brought on board the ability to take those sort of first three stages and build those out into all of your different pages on the site that you build via your sitemap and your wireframes. And then you can put all the images you want in there. You can customize those images. You can change the text. So you can have effectively a site ready to be built directly inside Relume if you want to. It's up to you. You can go as little or as much inside there. But for me, this has just opened my eyes to quick and easy ways to be able to put initial ideas together. Don't always stick to them, but if I can get 85% of the way there, this is super useful, especially if I'm doing things like I need to create a landing page or a new section on one of my sites. I can come in here, I can play about with different ideas, different layouts, see how it fits in with the overall aesthetic of my overall site. And then if I'm happy with it, I can move that over into the actual design phase. Like I say, if I want to move over into Figma, I can absolutely do that. And I can tweak the design to whatever way that I want, add in all the features and functions that I want inside there to move over into Bricks or whatever tool I'm going to use. But Relume is another one of those tools that I've been really happy with. I released a course on this, which is absolutely free, called Prototype to Production. You can check that out in the details down below if you want to take a look at that. You can sign up and get access to it, follow along. About an hour long, it'll give you a good idea of how you can use Relume for yourself. Yeah, Relume is another one of those tools that I've started using more and more this year, and I've been sort of pleasantly surprised with how this is developing as a platform and becoming far more useful than maybe it was originally 12, 18 months ago. And finally, speaking of design, let's go one step further. One of the things you want to do is check that your design is going to look good on different responsive sizes, different devices, and so on. And that can get quite expensive. This is where a free tool called Responsively comes in super handy. Again, I released a video on this, totally free. Download it, install it on your computer, and then you can just simply pop in the URL and you can see what your designs are going to look like. You can create your own layout of all the different kinds of devices you want to test it on, like say iPads, different iPhones, different Android phones, different resolutions, different aspect ratios, and so on. You can test exactly what it's going to look like. Responsively is just another one of those little tools that has become incredibly useful. And if you are a developer and you are designing things, this could be really handy. And also, like I say, it is free. It doesn't cost you a single penny. So if you want to test things out, you can have what the cool things about it is that you can actually test it out. When you change one thing on one or interact with one sort of layout, it is reflected across all the different layouts. So you can check when you interact with buttons, check when you interact with menu items and so on. You'll see it, how it reacts on all the different devices. So it is quite useful. If you are a designer or a developer and you want to test across multiple different devices and resolutions and those kinds of things, check out Responsively. I think it's a really useful little tool. So those are the things that I kind of found, explored, experimented with, and started learning more on in 2025. 2026, I hope, is going to be even more exciting than what I've had covered in 2025. But like I said at the top of this video, please do let me know what tools you've come across over the last 12 months that you are excited about. Let me know down in the comments section down below, and I can check those out and see if I get as excited about those in 2026 as you have in 2025. That's basically all I wanted to cover in this video. Have a fantastic end to this year, and I look forward to seeing you all in 2026. Stay well, stay healthy, and look after yourself. My name is Paul C. This is WP Tuts, and until next time, take care.